not only the biggest guest we've had, but one of the nicest people in show business to me. Ginger Zee is here. She's here with me now. We're flipping the format here. We're flipping the format.
Start off with the guest. Let's do this.
Yes, the guest is here. If you guys listened to the show 2 weeks ago, we talked about guests we wanted to have on the show. And I blurted out that I had your personal phone number, and Loren Raye went nuts. So the co-host is now the guest who will be the co-host. And then I basically shot Ginger a note who said, let's surprise Loren.
Yes, let's. And you know what? You're saying it wrong because like biggest get all this. It is an honor to be on the Tom Kelly Show. I'm going to tell you right now. So this is my honor to be sitting with you and hanging with you. It's been too long since we spent time together. So let's do it and record it. Why not?
You know
See what happens.
Because you know what I realized? This is such a dad or 40-year-old guy thing. Like nobody has time to call each other. Like you're a pal. You've texted me back. We talk to each other. But you know, no one will say, hey, Tom, let's talk for an hour on the phone. No. But if I record it and call it a podcast, suddenly we're all connected.
That's right.
And it's not just you. It's my comedian friends. It's my showbiz. Even my friend who was a DJ is like, Tom, I'm so busy. I'm like, would you be on the podcast?
Yeah, I can make time for that.
Before I let Loren into the room, I want to say this about Ginger. She's the chief meteorologist at ABC. She's an author. There's all these nice things we can say about her. But what I love about her is Ginger's seen me at my best or my high points. And what I love about Ginger in a business where people get stingy when other people are happy, Ginger shared my joy when I opened for Taylor Swift. Ginger at the big Good Morning America concerts. When I had big band, Ginger was there, and I don't know. Thank you for just.
You're welcome. Thank you. Hey, your job is so necessary in those because as much as, and if anybody knows my husband Ben, his life's like work is going and interacting with strangers. And that's what you do so well. There are very few people talented enough to be able to do that, want to do that, and then make it comfortable and generous for other people. And you do it so well, very, very much like my husband. So I admire that greatly in you. And I'm always beyond grateful that you've warmed up and made the crowd ready. And you know what? It's like you're producing it for me because you're like, here's this girl, she sings well. Here's that one, she's funny. Here's this. So it's all kind of like that filter. And it was extremely helpful. So yes, I'm glad to put you up on a pedestal when you need it.
Now, here's something you've done on TV well that I've never done before. And it was your idea to do this. I told you how much Loren Raye admires you.
Yeah.
And you wrote back, let's surprise her.
Yes.
You've done these surprise things before. She's in the room. She thinks the show's about to start in a minute. What's the elements to a good surprise? Do I just hit admit and then we ambush her?
Yeah, just go for it.
All right. So Loren Raye, so again, guys, Loren Raye said she loved Ginger Zee and loved Ginger 2 weeks ago. I'm sure I edited the clip in at the beginning of this. And she's here and we're just going to hit admit and we're going to see her reaction. And we're not going to edit it out. Let's see what happens. So here we go. I hit join and Loren, are you there?
No.
Hi, Loren.
Hi. Oh my goodness. As I'm chewing goldfish. Ginger Zee, hello.
Well, hello. You know you're a mom when you're chewing goldfish and it's 10 a.m.
Oh my goodness. This is so exciting. I'm such a fan of yours. I think you're wonderful. So this is so cool.
So thank you, Loren. What kind of goldfish is the most important part?
You know what?
Because there are a lot of different types.
It's the Annie's organic kind. So
yeah, I got you. The bunnies. They're not even goldfish. They're bunnies, everybody.
Exactly. That's true.
But there's chocolate, but that's like the traditional cheese one though that you've got going.
Yes. And we have the white cheese one too, which I'm really into as well. So
but it does have more of a scent. My children are like, what does that stink like? And I'm like,
that's all right. We like them. Even if they don't like them, it's fine. That's great.
Is that not for you and Tom and everybody? Is that not one of the best parts of the pandemic is that you can only offend yourself within your mask as far as breath goes?
Yes.
Like, that is my except when I put on my husband's mask accidentally and I'm like, who died in here? Ew.
I love this. It's so true.
So, by the way, Loren, we're on air.
Great. I love this. I'm so happy.
Yay.
So
Thank you so much for the kind words, by the way. I'm really grateful.
Please. Thank
So-
you for being you.
Loren, explain this to me. You were both Gracie winners. I know what a Gracie Award is. Could you explain that to the world, Loren?
I don't even know that I know. I think my husband could explain it better because I'm always like, oh, no big deal. But it's basically this amazing organization has put together the Gracie Awards. It's the Alliance for Women in Media, and we celebrate programming that is for women, about women, or by women, any combo thereof. And I won one time, and Ginger Zee won too, and she was there, and I got to bump into her at a table and tell her how much I love that she shuts down trolls very professionally, and I'm into it. So
it's one of my favorite pastimes. It's what I do
Right?
for a hobby. Yeah.
Well, and what I love about that is Loren loves you for the thing that I know on more than one occasion I have told you to stop doing. Like I have said, Ginger, why do you answer all these trolls? And you're like, Tom, I enjoy it. Somebody needs to do it. And
Yeah. I answer everybody. That's the thing, is I try to get back to everybody. So while the positive ones aren't quite as entertaining because they're very nice and wonderful, when you take it all and realize that none of it, the positive nor the negative, really should inform your personality, identity, anything that comes out of you, it then becomes kind of this, it's like a show. To me, it's like watching a series, and I'm like, the series, some of the episodes are really good and with the trolls, and others are, kind of a boring. Today I've had very few trolls. I'm bored. Bring them on. Like, what am I supposed to do in between my hits except for shut down Twitter accounts?
Oh, I love it.
At Ginger_ZEE.
Yes.
Go for it.
Come for me.
See, how do you stop though? See, me, when I fight a troll back, I need to have the last word.
No, when you can always tell, I can tell usually a couple of things. I feel like I'm almost expert level at this, is like, what does their avatar look like? What, do they have a picture? Do they, what kind of grammar do they use?
Yes.
Are they looking for attention because they have a genuine need for it, because they're a hurting person, because there are those people? Are they looking for attention because they're bot type? Are they doing this because, or do they have a genuine, dislike or opinion they'd like to share, which is a strange part of being some people do, but I admire that, they're different than me, and that's okay. And so I usually try to assess who this troll is, what type of troll.
Yeah.
And then if they're the type that comes back, and sometimes they'll surprise me with like the trying to get me to engage more. And I'll do it as long as their facts are wrong. I will inform them with good facts. But the moment it turns into opinion versus opinion, that's when I let go. Then I'm like, okay, well, you think I'm the ugliest weather girl? I'm not a weather girl. I'm a meteorologist. So it's ugly meteorologist to you, sir. And then when
Yup.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But that's what I love about you, because it's never petty. Like their initial complaint is petty, but your response is never petty. It's always coming from a place of education, intelligence, and it's not in like a I'm smarter than you kind of way, just like I have a lot of practice with this. This is what my degree is in, and please allow me to educate you. Yeah.
Don't either of you have like an actor or a singer that you don't like, that just is not pleasing to your ear or to your eyes?
Mhm.
I have that. I'm not going to go write her or Nickelback. Oops.
Yeah.
But, but I'm not going to go.
Suddenly, all the Nickelback fans who listen to the show tweeting at Ginger_Z.
Listen, I say Nickelback as an example because that's like a well-known kind of like an adverse thing that people have biologically, I think, at this point. Like, it's in my genes that I'm an anti-Nickelback person. But there are actors, there are people who just don't fit my fancy, and that's fine. I just happen to be a quieter person about that, but that's what I think about too, is I'm not their flavor. I'm not their type.
Loren might remember this. The only time I ever hate tweeted, and you were involved in this, Loren, this goes back 7 years. There was a show, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, and it starred Josh Gad.
Yes.
And I'm having a flashback to how long I've known you, Loren. About seven, and I just
much longer than that.
But the show, this might be 7 to 10 years ago, and the show was offensive. It was like awful West Wing. It might have been during the end of the Bush administration. I forget, but the show was horrible. And Loren and I just start going back and forth about how horrible it is. And then the executive producer, a guy named Mike Royce, chimed in and shut us both up. And the even worse part is then I Googled this guy, Mike Royce. He was the warm-up comedian at The View, like for a week at one point. He was a big warm-up comic in New York. He was the warm-up comic at Everybody Loves Raymond. He had my career, except he has a happy ending, whereas I'm in my apartment podcasting. And
I forgot about that.
yeah, and then we both just shut up. He's like,
yeah.
He just said, I know it's awful this week. Give it 3 more weeks, please.
Yeah, but that's and that's a great lesson in that each day that they see me or each dress or whatever it is they're complaining about, that is okay, right? Like,
yeah,
we're not incredibly proud of every single, and even if I am, and I think that I look and sounded great and gave great information, but they didn't think so, that's where you can stop and say, we're allowed to have these opinions. And
yeah,
yes, you're allowed to let them know, but the moment you got a human on the other end, you were like, never mind, just kidding.
it's so true. And I will say, Tom, to defend ourselves just a tiny bit, I don't think I tagged him. Did you tag him?
No,
I don't think we tagged this person. I
not attacked the person. We were on the hashtag.
Oh, you're right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what happens
though.
a lot of times too. That's where I see some of the best ones is when I'm not tagged. But if you go in Twitter and you just have my search comes from just my name searched. So people will think they're being sly or on, and I'm like, hello.
Here I am with my hair. I see so many people give you so much crap for your naturally curly hair, and it drives me crazy. And it's like, dude, she just has curly hair. Like, what kind of hair do you have?
I'm trying to figure this out. I really am, like, historically. And I think what I've come to is that women have not been in the workforce long enough for us to have fashion moments that are acceptable to be natural, I guess. And so there's a large population of people that find it unprofessional to have curly hair,
right?
Which I think is a fascinating look at, how, and it's usually older generation, a lot of men, they just don't like it.
Well, what happened to the Noxema girl from the 90s? Like she was hot for a week and then that went out.
It did, but that's what I'm saying is like, also it's hair. So at the end of the day, what does my hair have to do with now? If I have bright green hair that's distracting you on TV and I have it spiked out, I think I do see that. I see that I can't just do anything with my hair. But if it's coming out of my head the way that it comes out of my head naturally, I can't imagine why that's distracting. Like it doesn't, or hurting my image of who I am. And this is where it goes to, like, and what I always harp on is, people cannot see me and say scientist. It's just not an image that they connect. And so I'd like to help with those Twitter trolls or whatever. However, yes, Einstein looking guy is but representation matters. And we have to show people that you not only can be a woman and be a scientist, but you can be a woman with curly hair and be a scientist.
Yes. And you can be a pretty woman and an outspoken woman. And I know, God forbid, and that's another one of the things that I admire so much about you is that you're super outspoken about when you were younger, you struggled with eating disorders and you've been sharing your story. And I think that the more Tom and I talk about this all the time, the more we can talk about our struggles, it helps ourselves and other people.
Well, and that's the perfect segue because I've been listening to Ginger's book. If you get a chance, ladies and gentlemen, what natural disaster is it?
Yep, I cover them. I am one.
Nice.
And the book, I intentionally did not read it because I knew you. And I don't talk about this too often, but I grew up with a friend of mine who is Joey Buttafuoco's son. And I read you, and we're going to let it go at that. But the big thing I always felt about, and this affected how I treat my friends who read books, in that I read a few pages of his mom's book at one point, and I felt like I'm intruding. He told me this, he would have told me that. And so I stopped reading, and now it's different because he didn't write the book. He didn't have the power to write the book. How do you feel? Like, you were just so honest in your book. And frankly, I thought you risked your career at first, like it talks about, and this is the joke I used to tell about it in the studio, was Ginger talks about her struggles with suicide, eating disorders, and bad boyfriends, but it has a happy ending because one day she gets to work with Tom Kelly at Good Morning America.
And that's how it went. But I do have to say, and you know Fonzie, I
Our
mentioned
stage manager,
Fonzie.
legendary stage manager. Yeah.
Yeah, and Fonzie, when I first came, and how the book introduces is, and that, believe me, I thought I was risking my career at that point too, but I was also at the point of my self-love, which was growing, and my self-acceptance, I should say, maybe not love yet, where I was saying, I'm ready to say something pretty shocking, and I'm ready to not care what people think about that. You know, being the girl next door, being the one that everybody likes, was so incredibly important to me, as it is for most people. And I don't think that it's, you know, something we should let go by the wayside and don't care what anybody thinks.
Right.
But it is, the growth in me was this book. And, you know, to have ABC read it, and it went through 8 layers of lawyers, and you know, like, believe me, it is not the first book I wrote, but they were there to protect me, and they helped me, but still, you came out with the important stories. The response from that book has been, every day, still 5 years later, I'm getting dozens of messages a day. Sometimes, I just read your book, all the way to, you saved my life. I went to the hospital because you said you can go to the hospital. I'm like, that's what it took, was just reading a paragraph in my book. And now this mother of 3 will be there for her children. And that's the type of intensity that came from this writing the book, which was not expected at all. I went to the publisher to write a baby book about weather, because I didn't think I was a writer. And yes.
That's how that started?
Yes, I went, because believe me, since 7th grade, when I got 1 B+ on a test, or an essay I wrote or something in my new English class, and a teacher said to me, well, maybe writing's not your thing.
At a B+? What kind of a teacher is that, by the way?
Listen, I was so sensitive to like not being A+, because I wanted to be perfect, right? I see it in my poor son now. But I said, in my mind, that means I'm a bad writer. And from that moment, I said, I'm a bad writer. And I went into science, math hard, storm chase. My career took off. It was wonderful. When I was pregnant with Adrian, I just was looking for baby books about weather. And I was so like not happy with what was out there. So I said, I think I can handle 60 words and some pictures, you know? So I went to Disney's publisher, and I said, hey, I've got an idea. Here's the thing. She said, that's more of a middle grade chapter book. I was like, ooh, yeah, I'm not a writer. I'm really bad at writing. I've been saying it for 25 years at that point. And she said, why don't you just try? So I went and wrote a couple chapters, came back, and the Helicity trilogy was born. And then as I'm telling her the experiences that those books are based on, she's like, wait, what happened? You left the guy before you got married 3 weeks before? And she's like, that's a book.
Yeah, man. Oh my God.
So I don't know, Loren, did you read her book or no?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't read any books in forever, but
Audible's the way.
Yeah.
Like, as people are listening to podcasts, like, that's to me the only way I read.
Yeah, and that's how I bought it. And I was saying too, I didn't realize that an audiobook can take 6 hours, and
long story.
Yeah. And so then I had her on double speed this morning as I'm power walking. And so I'm going to be having nightmares about Ginger going, no, but you left the same guy twice at the altar.
Yeah. Well, I've had a pretty storied romantic career, if you will, before my husband, and he loves it. He thinks it's so funny. I mean, the whole time I was preparing for this book, you know, like, I'd have my nervous nights where I'm like, this is going to ruin everything. And he's like, believe me, if you were doing like, and this was the one thing I didn't want to do. I didn't want to write a book that was just me in a pastel sweater on the front, kind of with my hands under my chin and a senior picture look, and just saying like, oh, there's a nice girl with a nice story. Like, what does that even mean? And I'm not actually. And so this book was meant to say, I just want to remind everybody, I'm not at all what you think I am. And I leave people, and I made horrible choices in my life. And there are, you know, I can't excuse anything, but I can hopefully teach you the tools that I've learned since. And that's all we can do, is pass on. You know?
Honestly, I forgive the horrible choices, except that you paid deposits.
Oh, I know. Believe me, the money. Oh, wait, I don't think I even put it in there, because it would have legally said something, but I can say it now because I don't care.
Yeah.
When,
what are the odds your ex-fiance is like, and plus she's on Tom Kelly Show and Good Morning America? No.
So when I left and I was ready to really go and I got the job in Chicago, I had put the down payment. I had paid for the beginning of the house, everything that we had together. I mean, down to all of the stuff we had registered for that we couldn't take back. I left everything with him. I was just like gone in the dead of night. Yeah, it was really
Wow.
bad.
But
I
did he
know.
get to keep that financially?
Oh yeah, no.
Oh,
He
then
gets
I would
well.
be into that. Listen, if there's any single now who want to leave me with the gifts, I'm in.
That's the thing is I felt so guilty. There was not one part of me that was going to do anything like, and I'm glad. I'm still glad. I hope that he still has that, China.
Well, all kidding aside, and this is one. If you ask me to edit it out, I will. But for me, I've had one or two girls I've gone on dates with, not quite X quality, who went on to become semi-famous.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that drives me nuts. Part of it doesn't. Has he ever looked you up or said hi after you achieved this pinnacle of success? Do you know where he is?
No, I think he was such a whole person already in himself that I've seen him because he's back in my hometown. He got married. He has 2 little boys, pretty similar to the age of mine. Ben and I saw him at the gym when we were there a couple years ago, and he was just as kind as ever. And, like we definitely aren't like reaching out to each other, but he is, as I put in the book, the most wholehearted, like golden retriever type of person, like just a lovely human being. And that's exactly who he still is.
Loren, would you be that forgiving if you were left at the altar?
Oh, I don't know about that, but I probably not. But I will say we all grow. And I think that's the whole point. Like if we all stay stagnant, it sucks. Like life is going to be horrible and it's pointless. And if it makes you feel any better, it's not the same. But I certainly I've broken up with one boy on Valentine's Day and another guy on his birthday. So I'm not exactly like the greatest in terms of those types of things. But it's like we have to do what we need to do for ourselves. And people are going to be, casualties along the way, just as I've been casualties of other people along the way too. And I think that as long as you can like try to keep going and try to keep moving and understand where they were at that point in time and why. Yeah, you don't hold on to it as much. It's just kind of like, all right, like I was broken. I had a lot of stuff to work out. So I did, and now I'm happy,
And that's the thing is he was a part, and thankfully a very kind part of my broken past, because there are some not so kind parts of my broken past. And thinking back to in my next book, which is complete, and it really it only touches that moment of my life, because there's a lot that I had to leave out. And not that I left it out and it was incomplete in what I told in the story, in the first story, but in the second one, and something that I encourage everybody to do, is go back to the beginning of why you were there in the first place. Why did I say yes to an engagement, a couple months after meeting this guy? There are some pretty big traumas in my life that had happened, and I hadn't really addressed those because I hadn't even addressed them now, like more recently. And so it's a really good reminder to do that. And that's why I say whole when I talk about him, because I feel like he was just already there,
I say that about my husband all the time. I really do. Yep.
Well, it's funny. Another thing you two both have in common is I think you each have your career soulmate. Like Ginger's husband is a brilliant comedic mind. He works at WPIX. He has had developed 2 or 3 different TV shows, if not 20. I forget he's. You know what I love? He's going to write me back with an exact count later. But
he's very funny. I follow him too. Yeah.
Yeah, he's hilarious. He's on PIX now. He hosted a show out in Tennessee for a while. What's the right way to say this? And then Loren's husband is in radio and very successful himself. My question for you, Ginger, is should you have even been dating in your 20s when you're hopping around, from station to station to station and working your way up the ladder? Like, I think that's part of why I'm single, is at the end of the day, I know I might be ready for a significant other. I am not ready to be a dad.
Yeah, see, that's good to know about yourself.
Yeah.
I think that was a very, as I put, like I was aware with the politician in the book. I don't know if you got to that.
Yeah. Was it Rod Blagojevich?
It was not Rod Blagojevich.
Because in the book, she talks about dating a undisclosed thing. And I'm just thinking it has to be Rod Blagojevich of Illinois.
No, and the only reason we broke up is because he went to prison. No, that's not him.
But Ginger, do you mind if I start that rumor here? I know ABC Publicity is very nervous about you doing this with
Totally
me.
fine.
They would love that. No, it's not Rod Blagojevich, but that would have been really, I would have been so impressed with myself because that would have been a way better story than what it really is.
Oh my God. Ask me my Rod Blagojevich story in a second. But for real, I want to ask the real question. Oh, by the way, Loren, ABC Publicity, very nervous that Ginger's here. No cursing. Loren has a potty mouth. It's a big.
Did not curse. I almost did before.
I know, but I'm just telling you now. We ambushed you and just threw you on the air.
Okay.
I'm
fine with it.
Oh, by the way, your husband's. But for real, could you have? Was your problem dating non-show business people? Like Loren married a guy in showbiz in his own way, in radio showbiz.
I mean, I dated guys in showbiz though. Like, I dated anchors. I dated people that were in other TV shows with me, and it was never good. So no, I don't think that was it. I don't think that it was the non-showbiz. I almost think, thankfully, Ben is a very secure person. And what really worked for us was he came on strong. I mean, like scary strong. And I was like, oh boy.
And did? I don't
my gosh, you didn't wait till you get there. I broke up with Ben twice because I was like, this guy is too much.
Okay. Well, let's hold for 1 second. When you were dating other celebrities besides Rod Blagojevich, was it also Chad Kroeger of Nickelback?
You know what? No, I couldn't do it. I just would not be able to for a moment. I would be, and maybe I'm sure he's a very nice person, but I'd be like, I can't listen to you. Hey babe, you wanna go? Like it's deep. And I know that's not his fault. It was the 90s, and that's what happened with people's voices. They got very like complaining.
Yeah. And the photograph.
I can't. Oh.
By the way, that's what I've been working on for about 10 weeks now, is getting Loren to start singing on the show. We put a milestone.
There you go. Do you know that Ben has multiple times gotten me Nickelback paraphernalia for different like gifts at different like stocking stuffers? I'm like, oh God, here's another Nickelback like coaster.
Okay, so how a man who gets his beautiful wife Nickelback memorabilia come on too strong? I don't understand that.
This guy, Ben, is the most serious. When he knows guy. Like when you hear that, he's the guy in the dictionary about that, because he was in love with me and did not care to hide a moment of it. He wasn't playing any games. He was just all there all the time. And I went on 2 dates with him, and I was just overwhelmed. I was like, I don't know if this is good or bad, but it feels like a lot. And at that point, I was coming out of an abusive relationship after 5 terrible relationships that just weren't right. Like I was not ready for that. And so I broke up with him. That's the other thing. That's when you know somebody's intense, when they think you broke up with them after you went on 2 dates.
Oh yeah.
I said, honey, that's just called didn't go on a 3rd date.
Right. This is why Ben is my soulmate. When I talk, Ben is my soulmate. Because half of the time I kind of make up exes just so I could talk with Loren on a podcast.
You're like, I went out once. I mean, once.
Yeah, honestly, like one of the 3 people who got famous, it was like 2 dates and never a 3rd. But we'll call her an ex for the sake of podcasting.
One of my favorites too is the guy that I dated. One of the guys I dated right before Ben, who was wonderful. Happens to be, this sounds so bad, happens to be the top male model in the world. I know, guys.
Fabio? You dated Fabio?
Not Fabio. Why would Fabio be the top male model?
Can't believe It's Not Butter was a good campaign, right? Doesn't that him too? Didn't he do that one also?
Wait, wait, Loren, take a guess. Who's the top male model in the world?
You wouldn't know him because that's the thing. Models, you don't know their names.
Yeah, I genuinely.
Wait, top male model or top MAIL model? There's 2 different guys.
Yes, he worked for the USPS, and it was beautiful. He had holidays off. It was great.
I don't know. Yeah.
No, so this guy, I did a story on him because this is the whole story. You guys, I don't even know if I should say this, but I was coming out of work that first year when I was at ABC, and I saw a bus stop image. And like, again, models, do you ever pay attention to who they are or what? Not a lot, right? Because their job is to sell the clothes. And it was bad. All I could look at, I could see this guy's like soul. Yes, he's incredibly handsome, but I swear I had a connection to a poster.
Okay, I love this.
I mentioned that I was lost. So I tell Matt Ferrucci, my executive producer at the time, I said, we got to get this guy on. Here's a story. I'm like, male modeling is one of only 2 industries in the world where women make more, modeling. And it's kind of a good story if you think about it. I mean, porn's the other
That's
one.
Brilliant.
But,
that's so you.
Porn is the other one.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, actually. Okay.
But there are not, I mean, think about how women are paid less in every other. So this was the reverse of, okay, so what industry? So he said, yes, I would like to meet him too. Let's do this story. So
but
we did.
Now pausing, I'm guessing this is a gay male.
No.
A straight man did this.
Yes. Oh, wait. The executive producer.
The executive producer.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say that is too good a wingman.
No, right. No. So, and I mean, obviously it was a good story. I actually am really proud of the story that came out of it, but I got to hang out all day with this guy and he and I hit it off so well. He was 7 or 8 years younger than me, extremely beautiful, but in who he is, he's very smart and very not what I expected at all. And that's why I think I connected with him. And that's why he's the top male model in the world. And he will work forever because you can feel him through his stuff. Anyway, so a couple weeks passed, he got in touch with me and he's like, we should do that again. We should. And I'm like, oh my God, what, me? Like independent of this. Okay. And I got very awkward, I'm sure. We went on several dates and he just traveled a lot, like the world. And I knew it wasn't realistic. And he was so much younger and he still had a lot of traveling the world to do. And I'm just like the weekend meteorologist at Good Morning America. Like I didn't feel like it was a really equal match at all. Kindest guy ever. I meet Ben. And after I met Ben, and then the second time we got back together, Sean, the guy, reached out. He's like, hey, let's go out again. We should try getting back together. And I was like, I kind of met someone. And so now Ben loves to say,
wait,
or when he says I broke up with him twice, I'm like, yeah, but I didn't go back to Sean. So how about that? You beat out the top male model in the world.
You dumped a male model for Ben?
So wait, this story gets weirder. So before Ben knew that we dated, Ben knew I did the story on him. And it had been pretty close time-wise to when I met Ben. So Ben would be in Bloomingdale's or something, trying something on, and Sean, the picture, would be behind him. He's like, hey, it's your dude. So we took like a selfie with him. And like he kept seeing him on buses. He's like, hey, your guy is everywhere. The guy you did a story on.
I love him.
And then I'm like, I got to tell you something. And this is when I knew Ben was for keeps. I said, I actually dated him a little bit, like not incredibly deeply, whatever. And he's like, shut up. And so when Ben and I said, and he's like, but Ben is such a secure person, he loved it. He loves any story about my past, even if it was more recent past. Sean, I think, reached out to Ben on Instagram. They somehow connected. They started following each other.
I am not comfortable with this at all already.
Hold on.
I love it.
They're like buddies. Like they get along so well. We all 3 went to dinner before I had Adrian. Like Sean is, and we are cheering for him all along the way. And it has become what could have been very weird, isn't at all. And it's beautiful. And so now Sean, he's just a part of, the fabric of who we are, I guess.
And Ben obviously is very confident, but it's also a testament to you two, the two of you, in your relationship and the kind of relationship that you have. And I love stories like that. I love hearing about my husband's dating life before me. He dated a couple girls. I mean, not the same, that ended up in Maxim. And I was like, I would never go in there ever. Like, but I love it. I win. I think it's so fun.
Yeah, it is. And there's honesty in it. And there's that transparency, which is what my books are really about. And that is the way to joy and peace and all the things that we all deserve, is that we're always so shrouded. We're always so like protecting ourselves from whatever it is, whether it's mental health or an ex or whatever. We think that that's the right way to go about it. If Ben wouldn't have been okay with that, and like, again, I could have let him keep taking pictures around Manhattan with my ex-boyfriend behind him, but that was weird. But and to see what it developed into and how confident I think we all are in exactly what that story was and what it is. And like time passes, we all, like you said, we all grow and we grow up, and that's it. And if you can't do that, then there's something deeper wrong, I think, in that relationship. So I'm so lucky to have that, plus Brad, the guy in my book, the chapter 7, my best friend, who
your homosexual ex-boyfriend.
Correct.
Wow.
He was kind of the gauge of, and you'll get to that chapter later about when Ben met him. We went on vacation together and talk about like a very.
Wait, you, Ben, and your gay ex-boyfriend?
That's correct.
Wow.
Now, the book was written 5 years ago. Is your gay ex? But this is just me correcting my own ignorance, doing it in public. I have a lot of friends who are now admitting they're bi. Would that be fair? No, he's fully gay and just you and him.
Although he always says on the Kinsey scale, there's a Kinsey scale of homosexuality, and he does find himself in the 4 to 5, I guess, which would be like the middle, toward the middle.
Yeah.
So yes, but no, he's gay, and he's been gay ever since. Because of me, I guess. He was sure after, because we fell in love with each other as people. We really did. And
right.
I don't think we even cared that much about sexuality or who was what, where, when. It was very open and all the things. And just the time in our life was the right time for us to have that. It was after my non-engagement or non-marriage. So his friendship then became kind of, and here's where it gets really weird. They have a lot of similarities. Ben is on the other side, probably just about a 5 to 6. He's probably, and I needed that. I needed Brad, but straight. I mean, that's who I should have married, but he happened to be gay, and that's okay. And we didn't want the same things at the same time. There's a lot of reasons of why we're better as friends. Namely, he's gay. And
I love you.
But and then to find Ben, and then it's exactly what Brad said. We took a weekend in Key West. I know. And said, and said to each other, like, so Ben had to go back to work, and Brad and I stayed for 2 more days. And Brad was like, "You did it. You found me, but straight. Congratulations." And I was like, "I know." And it really was. And he's like, "This guy is going to love you as much as I do." And that's what means as being, his best friend. It was like lifted a bit of guilt. It was hard too for him, because he said it was like that final closure a little bit, but like he had closed that door a long time ago. But he was so in his heart happy for us, because and a little jealous, because he wishes he had that, on the other side. But he's very open with me that way too. And still to this day, he's like, "I hate how happy you are. You're not fun anymore. You were so fun when you were so broken."
Well, and I know I got a minute and a half left because you got to run. And I think you just put a beautiful bow on this interview here, but I want to dumb it down for people like me. You are a broken person, Loren.
Oh, yeah.
We all are.
No, but like you and I, Loren and I own it. That we've done that here. Ginger owns it. I think we're kindred spirits for owning it. How did you put it all together again? Or was there a moment?
Yeah. The moment that I knew I didn't, that sounds awful, but the moment that I knew that I didn't want to die, because I had a lot of really dark times with suicide attempts and all of these things, was in part because my career had always been taking off. I have had a very fortunate ride. I've worked my butt off and all that stuff, but I could see my career, and then I knew who I was losing in my own identity. It was after my most broken point was after that abusive relationship. I had lost myself, as most people who are abused do. Yeah. They spiral to a very, very, very dark bottom. And I wanted to be safe away from him. I wanted to be safe away from myself. And I wanted to have a shot at working with Diane Sawyer. And I had just gotten this job, and I found myself in the back of a cop car in New Mexico trying to escape my boyfriend. And I'm thinking, Diane Sawyer wouldn't go for this. Really? I mean,
Wow.
I can't sit here and be saved by the police from an abusive relationship and be on Diane's show. And it sounds so silly, but it's not, because we all have those career and things. And it was the sliver of light where I knew I could find myself. So as much as, we play a role or whatever we do, that role, I think, helped save my life, because that was the moment where I said, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to check into a hospital. I'm going to go and get the help I needed. And from that point forward, just like had I broken my leg years before and then went in like a closet and hidden, I would never do that. Why would you do that?
Right.
You go to the hospital when you break your leg and you have somebody help you fix it.
Yep.
My mind was so broken and it needed a lot of repair. So I went to the hospital. They set me up. They diagnosed me correctly for the first time. I'd had a dozen therapists at that point, and that weren't right, and not to their discredit, because I wasn't transparent, all those things. When I finally broke to that base level, went to the hospital, got the real help I needed, I started learning the tools that I needed to emotionally regulate. And ever since then, it's been this unbelievable climb. And so I've been, in my new book, This Is What It's About. It's work. Just like our physical health is work. You can't just go to a personal trainer for 2 months, get in great shape, and then do nothing after that. That's not how it works. I every day try to put the emphasis just as much more on mental health than I do on physical health. Where's the money I'm spending, the time I'm putting in, the energy, the things that I talk about? This is it. This is how we're going to make societally ourselves healthier, is spending time talking about it, getting it out there, communicating it. And the more I do that, the more healing I see. And so selfishly, it's great. But on the other end, I know that these stories in my new book are dark and hard to listen to. And people who love me, especially, I think, are having a hard time because I'm letting them read it first. It's not easy. Yeah. But life isn't easy. So let's talk about it, right? And then when you do get to see the sunshine, and when you get to feel that sun on you, you can really live in what has, without saying all this, sounds cliche. But when you say that it's been stormy and horrible and all these things, sun comes around. And this is how I always leave everything, because I'm a meteorologist and I have to. But clouds and storms don't last forever. They just can't. They won't. It is not how the energy in the atmosphere works, and it's not how the energy in life works. And so you have to know that they're coming, but also know that the sunshine, you better bask in it, right? And enjoy every second.
Do you see the tears in my eyes?
Yeah, I'm actually a little bit myself. Oh my God.
I can't.
And I want those tools. Listen, I want those tools to be with people, because everybody deserves what I feel today, especially if they've been, it doesn't matter what level, worse, better, wherever the darkness, things that haven't gone well. Everybody deserves to feel peace, joy, and they deserve to know how to get there. And just like my personal trainer shows me how to get a tighter butt that lifts up like more, because that's all I want in my life. It has been a work in progress, and it's taken a long time. We all deserve to have that if we want it. And that the problem too is the access, like here I am, financially able, I have access to it. There are a ton of people who don't. So if I can write a book and share some info on a podcast, and maybe that's a tool somebody takes with them, great. Could I go back when I was in my darkest points and where I was going to take my life? Could I go back to that me and say any of this? Would it matter? I don't know. But it's worth trying, because it can't hurt.
Yeah, no, like, it's funny. I'm at 25 months of therapy, and my joke I'm just starting to feel movement lately. Mm-hmm. And I've been, when I'm being mean to my therapist, I say, I don't know what's helping me, being in therapy or getting laid off. Like, I mean, and you wonder, just being away from things. Yeah. And I guess here's the deep thought, my friend. It took me 5 years to read this book, and it's meant something to me. I'm glad I didn't read it when we were working every day together, because I probably would have been very inappropriate about all your broken marriages.
Oh, that's great.
I would have taken it. I would have loved it.
Yeah. No, I'm glad I got to know you as a friend first and read the book later. And thank you for doing this. Thank you for helping me surprise Loren, because Loren's been good to me this year. And maybe you'll do this again. We don't have to tell ABC Publicity you're doing it.
Yeah, right. We'll slip it in. They love when I do that.
Oh, sure.
For my new book cover, I was trying, because I love messing with them. I'm like, guys, it's going to be nude but tasteful, okay? And I was like, you know the type. And the lawyer's face was so like, because she doesn't know me as well, so I know she didn't know the sarcasm was in there.
Okay.
just turned white. She was just
Yeah.
like ghostly.
Oh.
This cannot happen because she had just read my whole book, so she knew it was going to be a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's topless and that's it. Okay. At least I've got my pants on. So
Yeah. One day we'll have a longer chat about how at the View, because there were comedians around, they were less afraid of me. And
yeah, I bet.
and then like at GMA, God, there were arguments about whether or not I should be wearing a blazer and whether or not I was wearing a blazer was affecting the journalistic integrity of America.
I've
Wow.
never been afraid of you, and nor will I. I say bring it on.
All right. I love you, and I got to let you go because you're 6 minutes overdue.
Subscribe to the Tom Kelly Show podcast on all the major podcast providers. Sign up for the Tom Kelly Show email list at TomKellyShow.com. And of course, you can find me and contact me personally at Tom Kelly Show on Instagram, Facebook, Clubhouse, Venmo, TikTok, and FarmersOnly.com.